everyone and welcome back to Alchemy Support Services YouTube channel. I'm Erin, the founder of Alchemy Support Services, and today I'm going to be discussing the pros and cons of becoming an actually NDIS audited provider. So you can be a disability service without being an NDIS provider. So I'm just going to go through the pros and cons because this is something I was thinking about when I did start my journey of developing my business. So I think this is really good information for people who are starting out and are a bit daunted by the auditing process. So the pros and cons, being an NDIS audited is really expensive. I'm going to make a video in detail about my NDIS auditing process, what it costs, what I invested into becoming an NDIS provider. But just for now, it is expensive to become an NDIS provider. So if you're starting out and you have this dream but you can't fully dive in just yet, it is perfectly fine to not be an NDIS provider. If you're an independent support worker, go under a business name, so when you do want to hire people and get an office and stuff and then be NDIS audited, I think that's a good way of starting small and working your way up. And then you can kind of get the word out that you want to get more participants and, you actually want to hire people. It depends what you want to do. Like if you want to be in the disability sector, like with supports, or if you're wanting to be NDIS audited, like as a counsellor, then that's a bit of a different story because you're getting the NDIS audit to help people with disability by accessing that funding. So that's a bit of a con. That's the first con, how costly it is. Another thing is it's very time consuming. It's taken me 3 months to go through the auditing process, get all my documentation, and just really gather everything. And I haven't been working, and that's like 3 months of full-time work trying to get NDIS audited. And also I have gone through the process, and now the NDIS Commission is what is going to finalise that. And there's a bit of a backlog, like 9 months. So yeah, it's very time consuming, but as I said, once it's done, it's done. And it's another con is that you can't provide a service for people who are NDIS managed. You can only have participants who are self-managed, or have a support coordinator that manages, or they're self-funded. So that's probably 3/4 of the market, which in the grand scheme of things isn't that bad, but it's just something to think about. But a pro would be that when you're NDIS audited and you're starting out, it is a good look. It makes sure that participants know that you're trustworthy and that you've gone through the process, and it's a bit of a safeguard for them as well. If you're not NDIS audited, it can come off untrustworthy if they don't know you personally. So that's just a pro of that one as well. And if you're starting out and you're a bit lost, having a consultant who's helping you through the auditing process really helps you step out in the right foot. You're doing the right processes, and you're keeping the participants safe, and you have all the documentation, and you're not legally going to get caught out, because I find that happens a lot when you don't really know what you're doing and you're just seeing what sticks. but when you're working with a vulnerable part of the community, that can be quite risky, and I really don't recommend doing that unless you know all of the policies and procedures, and you've worked in that admin side of things in the disability community. It can be quite risky if you actually don't know what you're doing. So in that part, that's mostly why I chose to get NDIS approved, because I didn't know what I was doing. I knew how to care for people, but I didn't know about policies, legislation, doing the right thing, even like hiring people, all the requirements that I have to have of employees, all the documents I have to have signed of the participants to make sure they're safe, all the insurances. When you're not NDIS audited, no one's checking you, and that is quite scary to me. But that's also just something to think about. But as I said, it's costly. So if you don't have the money and that's not an option, doing a lot of research off your own back and starting off small and progressively going that way. And being NDIS audited makes sure that you don't have any bad habits. So if you're going out and you've decided not to go through that process, you're just gonna see what happens. You may pick up bad habits, or you may be doing things that aren't ethical, and if you start off as being NDIS audited, you've got those processes in place, you've got that routine in place. There's not so much jumping up and down, deciding this, deciding that. You're more focused and you know what to do in what process, and it's just going to look better on your part as well. Like, you're not mucking participants around if you weren't NDIS audited at the start, and then all of a sudden you are, and you've got to go through all that documentation again and just organize all your files. And that's also another reason why I decided to get NDIS approved, because I know from the start that everyone that I work with, if it's an employee or a participant out in the community, they're going to get constant consistency throughout their process of being with me. Yeah, it's just more professional. Con at the start of your business adventure is that I have decided to become a sole trader at the start, because I decided to invest my money to be NDIS approved, and it costs a little bit to become a company, and it's a bit too confusing for me. So I thought down the line I will become a company as I grow, but at this time it's just not suitable. And the only problem with being NDIS audited is that when I do choose to become a company, I have to be audited again, which is costly, but that's just something that I decided to do because I wasn't ready to become a company. I didn't have the infrastructure for that right now, and it's just not financially feasible. So that's a con with that. If you're going to change the structure of your business, you do have to go through the auditing process again. It's nothing major, it's just the cost that involves, because you've already been audited at the start. You know what to expect. But that's also just another thing to think about. But I'm going to do a video about the business structures and, in the disability realm, which one's more secure, which one's more cost effective, and the background of that as well. Also, another con of becoming an NDIS provider is that if you actually want to become a sustainable business, a consistent business, at the end of the day, you probably are going to want to be NDIS audited as you grow. So I find that if you are going to go in, and that is your long-term plan, is to be you want to be a service provider for a long time, at the end of the day, you probably are going to want to be NDIS audited. So that was kind of my vision, if I just do it now, then I've got these policies and procedures in place that's going to make my life easier, more structure. And I thought I'm either going to do it now or, you know, a year down the track, and, you know, I'm probably going to waste a year trying to figure out what I'm doing, and then probably put my energy towards something that I could be looking at my participants or how I provide my service instead of all this paperwork and admin and trying to figure out what I'm doing. I would rather use that as an investment and focus on the participants and give them my full attention. So that's another reason why I got NDIS audited. So if you found this video helpful, and I hope you did, if you have any other pros and cons of being NDIS audited, please let me know, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you, bye!